but time is running out. Experts say the average survival time in such conditions and depending on injuries is 72 hours. Authorities put the overall death toll at 272, 137 in Mexico City, 73 in Morelos State, 43 in Puebla, 13 in Mexico State, 5 in Guerrero, and 1 in Oaxaca. However, the situation on the ground was chaotic, and the figures were rising, and sometimes falling. Phantom schoolgirl, authorities denied Thursday that the girl existed. Rescue workers had told journalists they were certain a girl was alive beneath the rubble, but the different versions of the story varied widely. The story had made headlines around the world after the quake, injecting a ray of hope into a tragedy that killed 19 children and 6 adults at the school. "I need volunteers here," but real stories of hope continued to emerge from ruined buildings across the city, where more than 10,000 people lost their lives in a devastating earthquake in 1985. Residents of San Gregorio in the tourist magnet Xochimilco neighborhood in Mexico City's far south were angry at the lack of material aid and volunteers. Rescue teams were helped by thousands of ordinary civilians who dug through the rubble alongside them. Other Mexicans took to the streets with food and water for victims and emergency workers. International solidarity. President Enrique Peña Nieto toured the hardest-hit areas and declared 3 days of national mourning. "The priority remains saving lives," he said Wednesday night in a broadcast to a grieving nation, insisting there was still hope of finding survivors. U.S. President Donald Trump called Peña Nieto and offered assistance and search and rescue teams which were quickly being deployed, the White House said. Rescue teams have flown in from Israel, El Salvador and Panama, and more were expected from Ecuador, Honduras, Colombia and Spain. Rescuers said the Israeli teams came with equipment enabling them to detect cell phone signals within the rubble. The earthquake hit on the anniversary of a huge quake in 1985 that killed more than 10,000 people, the disaster-prone country's deadliest ever. Tuesday's temblor struck just 2 hours after Mexico held a national earthquake drill, as it does every September 19 to remember the 1985 disaster. A system of quake sensors was set up in 1993 along the Pacific coast, where tremors are more common. Adding to the national sense of vulnerability, the earthquake struck just 12 days after another quake that killed nearly 100 people in southern Mexico.